All right, guys, welcome back to the Everything College Football Podcast. Today we're going to be breaking down Oklahoma State and Texas. The 12th ranked Cowboys head to take on the 25th ranked Horns, 4-2, fresh off the heartbreaking loss to Oklahoma in Dallas. 5.5 point spread in favor of the Horns. 60 is the total. 5 out of the last 6 in the series have been decided by one score, and the one that wasn't, it was competitive for 4 quarters. So this is always a great rivalry. It's always going to be neck and neck for 4 quarters. This one will be contested 12 p.m. Eastern time on Fox. The Oklahoma State offense, they started off the year very sluggish, against Missouri State, an FCS school, Boise, not a great defense, Tulsa. They struggled immensely. Those were all one-score games. They scored less than 30 points in all of them. Then Tate Martin comes back. He's helped his passing attack immensely. He's played in 3 games this year, including the last 2. 21 total receptions for the season, 100-plus yards in each of the 3 contests. But outside of him, though, it's a very young receiving core. Brendan Presley's one of those guys who stepped up in the bowl game last year. He's their second leading receiver so far. But outside of Martin, freshman and sophomore, Jaden Bray, Blaine Green, John Paul Richardson. I think they have some young, talented guys, but you're not sure which one's going to step up. You're not sure which one's going to play. Doesn't matter who steps up if Spencer Rattler is this inconsistent, though. He had a good game against Kansas State, played very well. Other than that, he's been pretty shaky on the year. Against Baylor, 3 picks. He did make up for it with a nice throw on a post route to the end zone. But those 3 interceptions, they're bad. They were not good whatsoever. He's his best when he's outside the pocket. Whether that's running the ball from improvising or doing the option or just flat out, off-play action, rolling out and hitting his guy on a comeback. That's really when he's at his best. I think they're going to have opportunities here against Texas to do that. This offensive line's been pretty solid in pass protection. They've been allowing a fair amount of negative plays, though. So, whenever they're doing that, Spencer has to not make bad decisions. He needs to protect the football, not force it. That's really what's got him in trouble. Josh Sills, their best offensive lineman in my eyes. He's also their biggest. He's questionable for this game. That's going to be something to monitor. That's going to be big. Outside of this, up and down passing attack, their offense runs through Jalen Warren, the Utah State transfer. 552 total yards over the past 3 games. The last 2 games before the bye week, they finally hit the 400-yard mark. They hadn't did that all season. Tate Martin also played in both of those games. So they have a nice dynamic duo here in Warren and Tate Martin out wide. An elusive runner. He loves running outside the tackles. He's so good in open field, an elusive guy. The typical mold, of a Oklahoma State running back. He is the real deal. This offense, though, I think if Spencer Sanders can get out the pocket and they mix things up a little bit, that's when they're at their best. The Texas offense, Bijan Robinson, Roschon Johnson, nice little duo. It's mainly Bijan, the number 1 ranked run offense in the conference. He's so fun to watch. He's very elusive, so shifty. Arm tackles don't work with him. Even, form tackles don't work with him. This guy is just so elusive, so slippery. I think Oklahoma State will have a nice little plan devised for him. We'll get to their defense in a second. Outside of Bijan, though, Casey Thompson, very good pocket passer. I felt like I was very high on him coming into the year. He should have been the starter week 1. He wasn't. They ended up getting blown out week 2. He's been the starter ever since. He's been making good plays. Downfield, he was hitting the deep ball repeatedly against Oklahoma. You see a lot of quarterbacks in college just overthrow deep balls on guys that are wide open. He was not doing that against Oklahoma. Xavier Worthy, another one of those guys I really was going to be watching this year. He's been more than impressive as a freshman, 267 yards against OU. He was just tearing them up. They finally got Joshua Moore involved. They're going to be playing against a gritty, 5-deep coverage of Oklahoma State. I think they need to take advantage of Oklahoma State when they go, to man coverage, double moves and stuff. It's a good secondary, but, sometimes they get caught up in man coverage. Again, get into the sticks if they can run, advance those safeties a little bit. They'll have some gaps to work with because that's their bread and butter is running the game or running the ball, and that's going to be able to free these receivers up a little bit to work against a pretty respectable secondary. 10 points in that second half against Oklahoma. The Sooners started getting better pressure, did a better job of tackling. So I think Texas, they just need to run the ball better, make some plays underneath. Run the ball better, run the ball well in this game, that is. They run the ball extremely well. They're playing a good defense. Make some plays underneath. Get the safeties to creep up a little bit. It's going to allow your guys to get downfield, make some plays. Texas is certainly capable of doing that. So We'll see what happens. I think that's what they need to do to have success, though. This Oklahoma State defense last year, for the first half of the year, they're really good. And then down the stretch, they were just terrible. This year, once again, the first half of the year, they're incredibly tough, disciplined. Baylor, they only scored with – the first score came with 3 minutes to go in the third quarter. These guys were on the verge of a shutout, and this Baylor offense has made some very good strides. So that was, that's a respectable effort. This defensive line, Tyler Lacey at 295, high motor, 5 QB hurries. This guy's going to be hunting down heads. Brock Martin, he stepped up too. Every other week they seem to have another guy step out. Collectively they do very well, and then they have one guy who just stands out individually, keeps bouncing back and forth. Last game that is, Colin Oliver. He was another one of my breakout players as a freshman this year for Oklahoma State, but he's gotten on the field much more than I anticipated. 3 tackles for loss versus Baylor last week. He was constantly beating guys up, whatever side he decided to come off. He was just doing all he wanted to against this Bears. Good rotation. I like this defensive front. Their front 7 with Malcolm Perry, Devin Harper, a linebacker. Rodriguez, he leads the Cowboys in tackles far and away. He's one of the nation's top tacklers. He's a big reason why they're so good at stopping the run. These guys collectively as a front 7 just play as a very stingy unit. They throw out a variety of 3 or 4 man fronts. 4 is their base set, but they like to mix things up. And I think these guys play good football. That's what they do. They play with an edge, a chip on their shoulder. They're only allowed 2.7 yards per carry this year. Clogged up Kansas State and Baylor's running game. Very impressive. Slowed down Deuce Vaughn incredibly. Baylor, they only had that one run. The Cowboys missed a gap, and Baylor ran for a 50-yard touchdown. That was the only misstep they've really had this year against the run. They've been so solid, and they're going to have to be solid here again against Bijan. Their secondary, though, will focus on them. It's not a ball-hawking group. Only 2 picks, both by Harvey Alpel. They got beat a few times, I think I noted earlier, against Baylor. Christian Holmes, Bernard Converse, they've had some good balls. They have good ball skills. They've been making plays on the ball. But their man coverage is still kind of iffy. Bernard Converse, he got beat last week in a one-on-one opportunity. And Baylor doesn't really have – they got good receivers. They got a nice duo, but they don't have the burners like Texas does. So communication, these guys are really good at that. Just need to be key in rotating. A lot of vets in the secondary, so I think this is going to be a nice matchup for them. They did very well last year against the pass. Held Sam Ehlinger to under 200 yards. They did make big plays downfield, though, so take it for what it's worth. These guys play every single year, so they kind of have a feel for each other. But, their secondary, just communicate. And don't let those corners get stuck in man coverage and get beat. But overall, just keep contained. Shoot the gaps, make sure Bijan gets wrapped up, and they should have a very good chance to win this game if they can do that. The Texas defense has just completely struggled. Pete Kwiatkowski comes over his first year. It's a complex scheme, and they're struggling in year one. DeMario Overshawn, though, that linebacker, a great playmaker. Luke Brockemeyer, he's been playing very good as himself. The run defense, though, it's been flat-out terrible. 300-plus allowed versus OU and Arkansas. They've just been pushed around at the point of attack. Not very good with alignment. Got, that downfield passing game got going for the Sooners. It was very tough to slow them down after that. Not so much for Arkansas. They didn't really have much of a passing game. If you remember that game, they just had consistent curls there for 7 or 8 yards, and it set this run game up for easy work. OU didn't do that. They were really – Caleb Williams made plays downfield with his arm. Regardless, though, I think even if OU was one-dimensional, they were going to be able to run the ball all over them. They didn't do that so much early on in the game, but I think eventually they would have broke because this just front's just not been playing very well. Keandre Coburn himself, he's got to step up. He needs to play better. Giving up 200 yards per game on the ground is the Longhorns. You look at the DBs, they're not making great plays in coverage themselves. It's a veteran unit. I think they got 4 or 5 seniors. Josh Thompson, Deshaun Jameson, B.J. Foster. You look at these guys, all vets. They got good ball skills. They all play for some kind of aggression. But they've just not been playing great in coverage at all. In zone, they're around 70% completion rate. That's 128th in college football. The lack of pass rush doesn't help either. Only 5 sacks in 4 games versus Power 5 opponents. Same here. Alfred Collins, Ray Thornton, that is. Someone needs to step up, give the secondary some help. Because it's a veteran unit. They know how to play football, but overall they just have not been great on defense at all. I think this play action is really going to hurt them. If Jalen Warren's run game get going, Spencer's going to be able to get outside. Open field, they're going to have some issues. And I think getting him outside of the pocket, he's going to really hurt him this game. So they're going to have to just play flat out much better on defense. Looking at team comparisons, Texas has the edge at all positions on offense in my eyes. Quarterback Casey Thompson's playing very well. Of course, they didn't look great in the second half against Oklahoma, but Thompson, with him under center, they've been playing very good offense, very nice balance. At running back, Bijan Robinson's probably the best runner in the nation, so you automatically give them that spot, and Roschon Johnson's a very respectable backup. Right now, the Cowboys don't exactly have a standout backup, which is kind of disappointing. This is a pretty solid rotation of backs. Dominic Richardson's probably going to be that number 2, which he was, I think, number 4 on the depth chart coming into the year, so kind of a one-man show at running back for the Cowboys. Wide receiver, got to give it to Texas. I mentioned earlier the youth and inexperience. Tay Martin is phenomenal, but they don't really have anyone other than that you can count on. Texas, Joshua Moore, you've seen what he's done before. Worthy's clearly stepping up. I'll just give the edge to Texas because I think this is a much Jordan Whittington too, much better receiving group for the Horns and nation's number 1 running attack, or conference number 1 running attack, that is 245 yards per game. Credit to your talented running back. Also give offensive line a lot of credit too, because they were just powering through opponents on the interior against TCU, for example. Not a good run defense, but just a quick example of how good this offensive line's been. Got to give the pass rush to Oklahoma State. Like I mentioned, they have 3 guys in Lacey, Martin, Oliver. One or the other breaks out every other game. These guys play collectively very well, so I got to give that pass rush some edge. Defensive line goes hand in hand with the pass rush. Linebacker Malcolm Rodriguez, one of the nation's best right now. He's phenomenal at shooting gaps and tackling guys. So you got to give them the effort there. But Demarion Overshawn, he cannot be overshadowed. He's been so good for them. He had a big game against Oklahoma last week. He was phenomenal. Overall as a group, though, the Pokes. And they have the edge in the secondary. I don't really need to explain that. Texas 128th in one of their pass defense categories. In Oklahoma State, they're not giving up much. So easy decision there. Keys to the game, Spencer Sanders needs to make good decisions. You've seen it against Baylor. He got blitzed off the edge on one, fired a bad interception. He threw a bad ball on slant route that was kind of behind his receiver, got batted up, picked off. And then he had another one where he just completely overshot the receiver in plus territory. I was watching it and I went, what are you doing? So he needs to make better decisions. Or you can't turn the ball over against this offense. They'll make you pay. The run defense, fill the gaps and keep contained. Cannot let Bijan escape your wrath whatsoever. He's so good in the open field, very elusive. For the Texas, they need to slow down the run, get some penetration. Jalen Warren cannot get going, or Spencer Sanders in this pro-style play action will do some damage because I think that's when he's at his best. He'll make some plays out of the pocket. So slow down this run, make him beat you with your arm. I don't think he's capable of doing that, even against the secondary. It's really ailing right now. With all that said, I think Oklahoma State's going to win this game 31-24. I think they're going to have a nice little answer here for Bijan Robinson. Could totally be wrong. He's really good at just everything. So he could really turn it up in this game. And that's going to have some bounce. They'll probably get going for Texas. But I think Warren's going to have a field day. This run defense has been very bad. So I think they're going to be able to have that play action. I think that's exactly what's going to happen. So I'm going to take the Pokes in this one. Make sure you guys like, please subscribe, leave a comment. See you next time.